All right, guys. Final rosters in. Fired up to get the season underway. The guys look ready to go, and with that, I open up questions.
Yeah, Coach. Could you discuss the status of your right tackle position and some of the new players who have been added?
We got a chance yesterday, obviously to add, Jarrell. Mike Jarrell came out there in our trade, that we had right before we had our roster formulation. We got a chance to add 2 new practice squad players on our roster, guys that we identified, that we liked, that we had a lot of love for, to actually get in part of that. So on the roster, as you know, the guys that play tackle for us is Wilkerson, being able to slide into that right tackle position, do some really good things for us. Really fired about him. Some of the guys that you also know, like Parker, which is now on our practice squad, and then obviously Jack Nelson, our young draft pick. So, those guys will be competing for the right now to be able to go out there and play right tackle for us and have those guys out there getting ready to go, giving those guys the best opportunity to find out what meshes us the best to movement forward, to find a way to go get a win versus Tampa. But we definitely added some significant pieces in that area, in that room, to give us a little bit more depth, to give us some more clarity, to give us some people to go out there and compete, to be the best version of ourselves. But I got a lot of confidence in those guys that were here, particularly being able to get Jack Nelson a bunch of work in the preseason, also being able to get Wilkerson a lot of work both at left guard, both at right guard, and ability to play tackle to fill in at that swing position for us. Why that's definitely required right now with Storm and Caleb going to our IR program.
And you got veterans in that group, some kind of middle guys,
yes,
and some guys just starting out. You're just going to let them all compete for that spot?
I wouldn't say all compete for that spot. Obviously, the guys that are really competing are the guys that's been here, the guys that really know what's going on and everything that's happening. But you definitely go claim guys that you like. You definitely have a chance to trade for a guy that you like. You definitely get guys in your practice squad that you've always had love for. You get a chance to get your O-line guys that have been looking at these guys and evaluating these guys over years. All that work doesn't go by the wayside when you're talking about the draft over the last couple of years, and you're talking about the evaluation process and what you had on those guys before, being able to go watch those guys play on some of the other rosters and some of the other teams that they've been able to do. You got some guys in there with some extensive, play time in the regular season as well. That's got a couple guys that's got some experience that way too. So they'll come in here and they'll compete and they'll play. It'd be unrealistic for me to tell you that they'll be ready week 1. I've seen it done before, different positions. I've seen it done at the tackle position. But to beat some of the guys that are here doing some of the stuff they've been doing, I think it'll be pretty hard.
So you can envision a possibility in maybe in a few weeks that some of these new faces could be in that mix? Possibly.
Yeah, I can envision, anything like that with any position. There's always guys you pick up that fight their way into a roster and they find roles and homes for themselves. Usually, for most positions, the proving grounds, usually special teams, and they find ways to get those roles. But for the tackles and, really offensive linemen and mainly defensive linemen, those guys really find their homes and their roles as they kind of go through practice and kind of work their way into the teams and make their stuff at home.
You said to moving Bergeron to tackle. Is that an option?
Oh, we did. Bergeron is definitely one of those options. He's definitely a guy that can still go out there at any point. He's certainly one of the guys that can do anything for us. I've got a lot of high regard for Bergeron. He's one of the guys who's, I feel like, is very unique in his ability to do different things. He's very unique in his ability to play tackle and guard. He played tackle, obviously, in college at Syracuse, done some things there, primarily on the left side. We have a right side dominant need right now. So he certainly can do those things as well. He's done those things before. He's done it in his past. He's definitely always going to be one of those guys consider that. We've actually talked about that before in this setting, I believe. But he's definitely one of those guys that we consider doing that and could still consider doing that.
How do you balance the decision-making there between helping one position? Maybe I'm getting weaker at 2 positions versus, just one if I'm moving a guy. How do you –
Josh, that's always got to be something that you kind of evaluate is whether you want to move a guy from one spot or go with the known and know what you're working with the other side, whether you got to help that guy a little bit more or whether that guy's able to step in there and be able to fill in and no void happens, But you don't want to make yourself weaker by trying to strengthen one side of the field. You want to make yourself strong across the board. We got a really strong unit. We got a really strong group. We got a well-coached unit and got a lot of confidence in those guys being able to go out there and get it done.
Would that still be on the table potentially, Bergeron shifting over?
You always have to have that on the table. Bergeron is one of those guys that if something were to happen in game when you don't have all the guys up and, 1 or 2 injuries happens, that's always got to be something that's in consideration. That's always got to be something that's thought about, and we know he can do it.
I imagine there's no sense in telling Tampa Bay what you plan to do, but how good a sense do you guys have internally what you want to do with the offensive line for week 1?
Very good.
Fair
That
enough.
was a very good statement by you. You answered your question, asked the question. It was very good.
Well,
I agree.
I guess my question then is, that you just answered, is how much of these spots are still being competed for and decided upon versus we have a plan going into week 1, we're just going to.
So in that situation, you always have a plan. You know, you always go out there with your plan. Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. You know, famous Mike Tyson, right? So you got your plan. You go out there, you execute your plan. We have to shift and we have to delineate off that plan and do something different. We'll be ready to do that as well.
You've said before that you think that the notion of blindside protection is somewhat outdated in today's.
A little bit.
But McGary's strength as a run blocker,
No doubt,
is a big thing to replace.
That's a huge thing. That was more of it. I kind of brought that up. Like that's more of what McGary does, and that's more of our strength. That's more of what we've been able to do. You know, I don't know if the analytical guys here today that usually handle that stuff for me, but like we run the ball significantly better to the right side. You know, there's no secret there because of guys like McGarrick and Lindstrom playing together, doing it for a amount of years, doing it for a certain amount of years, being drafted together, growing up together. All of those things, there's no secret. And that's definitely more of a deal than just the blindside protection. The reason you can downplay some of the blind spot protection is because some of the gun stuff and the gun snaps that are in the game now, that wasn't in the game when Joe Montana played, right? There wasn't as much gun. There was way more drop back. There was true 3-step. There was true 5-step. There was true 7-step. And now a little bit more is done out of gun, a little bit more is done out of pistol, a little bit further away. And when I'm standing like this, I can feel that as opposed to it truly being a blind side. Definitely still some up under the game, passing game. There's definitely that element into it that is his blind side when you're throwing. But definitely when you receive the ball, it's not as blind as it used to be, if that makes sense.
You guys put Braylon Trice on IR this morning.
Yes.
What's the injury?
Well, you got to go back and you got to figure it out, but definitely had a recurring injury to his knee. So he's going to go back and figure it out. We got to figure out what that designation is as it goes. He's out there working on that right now and getting some things done. So we'll see what that is in the next couple of weeks, the next couple of days, whatever the case may be for him.
So just to clarify, that's the knee from last year.
Yes.
Does that mean go back and figure it out? Does that mean another procedure on the knee?
I would say yes. You know, we got to do those things, so that definitely will give you at least, if it's the best case scenario, obviously we're discussing this at the bye. If it's not, we'll figure it out after that.
Carried 5 defensive, I think, off the top of my head, 5 defensive tackles. Was that a tough
That sounds right.
Was that a tough decision, given Nate Ollie saying, you know, I want to roll those guys out there in waves, I want to keep moving? Do you have enough bodies?
That wasn't the tougher decision. The tougher decision was which 5 you wanted to keep. You know, we had some really good players. You know, we ended up bringing Street back on our practice squad, and he's one of those guys that was right in that mix to compete for that 5th spot. Last year, I think we had 6 on the roster at this time. We're talking about the inside position. This year, we have 5. You know, getting those guys out there to be able to roll and do some different things is definitely a part of it. You want to get those guys out there in waves, and it's really not just that position. It's kind of that whole front line. So you want to be able to wave those guys out there. So whether you keep 5 inside and 4 outside or vice versa, that was just all the tough decisions you got to make over the last couple of days.
We paid a lot of attention to the wide receiver competition to make the roster.
Yes.
Roster. What did you see from him that gave him the edge in that group?
I think, Josh, we've seen, you know, just in general, just throughout the whole project, we've seen the whole deal just when you were out there, just him competing, him going out there, him being able to go out there and compete every day. He did an excellent job when it came to his opportunities in the preseasons. That was very early. His opportunities from OTA days, his opportunities from training camp, mini camp, all of the things. You know, he passed with flying colors and all those things, and that definitely was a part of it. You know, and obviously we kept a little bit more receivers this year. Obviously, our return man, Agnew, is definitely listed as a receiver, so that's another spot that was able to get some stuff done there. So, like, really excited about that group. The resurgence of Casey Washington and all of those guys, really good group. And you still got some other guys that we picked up on our practice squad. We got a lot of faith in that. Went out there and played some significant ball for us last year when they got their opportunities, whether they were flexed up or they were put on a 53-man roster.
What went into the decision to cut Jordan Fuller and then now subsequently bringing him back?
I am really excited to get Jordan Fuller back. Obviously, the rosters always has moving parts, and it is a pool party for me in my head to be able to get him back and to get those things done with him. So we're extremely happy as a franchise to get Jordan back.
Agnew will be your punt returner?
Agnew is our punt returner, you know, primary punt returner, primary returner. Those are the things that he's been brought here to do. Obviously, he's explosive all over the place, and he can do some things on offense as well. But to be able to have him as our primary punt returner, primary kickoff returner, would be fun to watch.
And you settled on a second kick returner yet?
Well, obviously we got those guys that did it for us last year. You obviously got Ray back there that can do it. We obviously have Mike Hughes on our staff. We always have Alfred on our staff that also does those things. So we got a couple guys, a couple different options to be able to have first, second, third, punt returners, things of that nature. Right now I'm really excited to see Agnew go out there and work.
Is Xavier Watts your starting safety alongside Jesse?
Xavier Watts has earned a spot as the starting safety next to Jesse, and those guys will be out there. But obviously, like we talked about, like it's always about role clarity and role domination, and those guys got the ability to go do some of those things in different roles. So being able to get DeMarco out there and potentially even Fuller in different spots and different spaces, never is going to be able to be wavered upstairs and with the coaching staff.
Staying in the secondary, nickel,
Billy Bowman, finished with a strong lead there, obviously, and he'll be the guy to go out there first that you can consider probably as a starter when we put it out there in the depth chart. This is all stuff that comes out next week. I'm just being really nice to Mark and answering these questions.
How's Jalen Walker doing?
Jalen Walker's doing great. Had a couple really good days of practice. Obviously held him from that last preseason game to get him ready for this moment and for this game, for this part of our season. So I'm really excited to see him going, and he's doing really great for us.
I know you've answered something similar in the past, but is there any concern to him missing that preseason game?
No, that was definitely a decision of mine to keep him out of that issue. Like, he probably wanted to play, and he's probably still a little mad at me about not letting him play, but it is what it is. And the whole goal is to get him ready for Tampa and to get him ready to go and ready to do the special things he's able to do.
Do you recall the last time you had 4 rookies on defense that played a whole lot, if not started?
Yeah, the day I left L.A. Byron Young, Kobe Turner, those guys all started. You get rookies starting every single year. Just kind of the nature of the beast. You watch those guys, been able to watch Tenard Jackson go out there and safety start for us, and a bunch of different guys be able to go start and play. It's been a lot of fun. You cannot just put it on the 4 rookies that start. It's really just the roles that they have, because, nowadays you're able to get those guys out there and what they be called nickel. It just feels like nickels nowadays are just starters because so much of 11 personnel. And it feels like the way you roll those rushers and the way you roll those ends, you can be considered a starter on any certain package, whether it be rush package, whether it be third down package, whether it be first down package. Whatever the case may be, depending on the personnel that the offense puts out there, will determine who the starter is when you're talking about even inside at some of those positions on how they want to run the football or they want to pass the football, whatever, or vice versa, whatever the case may be.
And just going into the regular season, I guess goal 1 is to win the South again. You got to kind of start there. What's your vision of how you're going to approach getting to that goal?
I think the goal right now is to win game 1. But as a big picture goal, you always, that's always it, right? That'll never change. That'll always be the same. That'll always remain consistent. Obviously we know why that is. That's the automatic bid. That's winning your division. That's what everybody wants to do. So that'll always be the goal. But right now for us, everybody's really focused on Tampa and going out, putting our best performance versus Tampa.
Anything else? All right, thanks, y'all.
All right, thank you.